Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Domry Show. My name's Nicholas Wolf, Mr. Teen Concierge, and we're here in the Holocaust Museum in Naples, Florida, with Amy. Say hi.
Hi, how are you?
And we're going to be asking you a few questions. Now, first off, we're going to be talking about a little bit of history with the Holocaust Museum. So first off, how did it get started and when?
Okay, this museum is an outgrowth of a student project. In the state of Florida, it's mandatory to teach about the Holocaust in the public school, grade K through 12. And so one of our 8th grade classes at Golden Gate Middle School, 7th grade classes, created an exhibit about 13 years ago called Out of the Ashes. And it was their own creation of what they had learned about the Holocaust. That became the basis for what is now our museum, and we became a nonprofit in 2001. So we're heading into our 12th season serving the Collier County community.
Now, have you been in any other locations? And if so, how long have you been in this location in Naples?
Sure. We started up the street, actually in a little storefront next to the Outback Steakhouse, and that was funded by the Jewish Federation of Collier County. So that was the first year, 2001, and then we moved here at the end of 2002 into 2003. And so we've been in this location for 10 years.
Wow, that's actually longer than I originally expected. Now that we're done with history, let's go on to, is this a non-for-profit organization?
Sure. We are a not-for-profit museum, 501c3, and we provide programming for our community and for the schools, and we also have this wonderful display of our core exhibit as well as traveling exhibits.
Now, you were saying earlier how it was mandatory for schools in this area to learn about the Holocaust and write about it. How has this Holocaust Museum affected essentially the community around this area?
Well, we do most of our programming with middle school. Even though it's mandatory in all the grades, the bulk of our programming is middle school. And what we've learned mostly from students after they come through or participate in one of our programs is that they didn't understand the breadth of what happened. Most people know about what happened to the Jewish community. They know about Auschwitz. Yeah. They've seen Schindler's List. They didn't know about the non-Jewish victims. They didn't know about the extent of the camps. And what we see from the students is that when they write letters back to us, they say that, because of what I learned, you've inspired me to treat people with more respect. We challenge them to change the way they treat the people around them based on what they learned from history. And the response from the students is they're really starting to understand that.
And obviously it is a very important thing to learn about this history because technically it can't really be forgotten. It's one of the biggest things that's happened, one of the biggest wars. So it really needs to be taught to the younger generations today so that they can know what happened to bring essentially it up to our freedom. Now, let's work on to what are some of the artifacts and objects that you mainly have here. Like, I understand that you're partnered up with Military Museum of Memorabilia, and they mainly are for the Army aspect of World War II. Now, is there any specific objects or artifacts that you keep here?
Sure. Our core exhibit, our permanent exhibit, really deals with the history of the Holocaust, from the rise of the Nazi Party through the Nuremberg trials. And we have about 1,000 items on display, photographs and artifacts. About half of those would be stock photographs that are, anyone can use in relation to the Holocaust. Others are originals that have been donated, and artifacts that have been donated directly to us. We also do at least 3 traveling exhibits a year that either use something from our own collection or we bring something from another organization. And those things, we might highlight other genocides, we might highlight other elements of the war. It doesn't necessarily have to be focused on the Holocaust, but we do those tangential things for the traveling exhibits.
All right, and now finally, how can the viewers and fans of the Domry Show learn more information about the Holocaust Museum? Does it have a website, a Facebook, or a Twitter that they can go to and essentially search up more information about maybe coming here or anything about it?
Sure. I certainly encourage viewers to visit our website, which is www.holocaustmuseumswfl.org. Or give us a call. That might be quicker. 239-263-9200. We have our calendar on the website. It shows what's coming up in terms of exhibits, events, speakers, all kinds of stuff.
All right, well, thank you for taking the time and letting me interview.
Thank you.
I had a great time. I'm really, really excited about coming here. It was really cool. We're actually going to be doing a small tour around here, and we're actually going to be recording it. So thank you for taking the time and letting me interview, of course. And thank you for watching. Be cool and stay in school. We'll see you later. Hey everyone, so now we're back with Amy, and she's actually going to be giving us a short tour of some of the areas that they usually have during the normal tour. So Amy, you can take it away. It's all yours.
Thanks so much, Nicholas. Well, just to let you know, we start and we end all of our tours with the stories of our local survivors. We have quite a few people who were impacted directly by the Holocaust that live here in our community in Collier County. And so here on this wall, you can see some of the pictures of many of our local survivors, their families, before the Nazis came to power. This represents primarily Western Europe, but there is a few shots from Poland here as well. So these are the stories that we start our tour with, and we'll show you a little bit more at the end. As we tell the story, we find that it's most important really to let our visitors know about what was happening between 1933 and 1941. This is the part of history that people don't really know. How were the Nazis able to get the world to the concentration camps? And so we talk about the rise of the Nazi regime, the effects of the propaganda, particularly the Nuremberg laws, which started in 1935 and went through the 1940s, and how they disenfranchised particularly the Jewish population. But by that time, the non-Jews were already in the concentration camps. The communists, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the homosexuals, the gypsies, they've already been taken to the work camps. Leading us up to 1938, when Hitler begins his expansion out of Germany to focus on Austria, Czechoslovakia, and in 1939 to invade Poland to kick off World War II. After the invasion of Poland, which began World War II, Hitler had a treaty with the Soviet Union, and really the war is in full gear. After the invasion of Poland, he focuses on Western Europe, and during that time, they also start to create the ghettos that were primarily located in Poland. What we know and recognize today as the ghettos is usually we think of Warsaw, the big cities with the walled-in ghetto. But there were also smaller ghettos in all the villages and country towns throughout Poland that sometimes may have just been a street or a small part of the neighborhood. But this is the second phase of what the Nazis were trying to accomplish. The third phase is really what we understand to be the final solution, which began at the end of 1941. In 1941, Hitler violated his non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union and sent his forces into Russia. This now divided his troops between the ones that were still focused on Western Europe, now troops headed into Eastern Europe. Behind them came a group called the Einsatz Group and the Mobile Killing Squads, and their job was really to focus on those non-desirables, the Jews, the gypsies, the handicapped, and to eliminate those people as they were moving farther into the Soviet Union. At the end of 1941, the Nazis decided to implement what was called the final solution, the creation of 6 death camps, all of which were located in Poland, to speed up the extermination primarily of the Jewish population, but others as well. This section of the museum is the center, but in terms of the guided tour, this would be at the end. This is really the heart of the museum, literally and figuratively. These are the stories of several of our local survivors, men and women who were directly impacted by the events of the Holocaust and now give their time to share their stories with our community. Some are docents here at the museum and give guided tours. Some talk to the school groups, and they all have been interviewed, and their stories are now in our archives. This room we commonly refer to as Stars and Armbands. It is one of the gallery spaces, but not part of the regular guided tour. You can see the breadth of the way the Nazis would have identified both victims and friends, people in their own group. Only a handful of these are authentic to the Holocaust itself. Many of them are reproductions that were made in the aftermath of the war to be sold on the black market. But each one represents a particular type of person that was victimized by the Nazi regime or a particular group within the Nazi structure. In this section of the museum, we talk about the different types of camps. The Nazis established over 40,000 camps that could be termed concentration camps or ghettos. There were slave labor camps, there were death camps, there were the prisoner of war camps, and then transit camps. If you were a soldier, obviously you'd be sent to a prisoner of war camp. If you were in the Western European countries, you'd probably be sent to a transit camp waiting to be sent somewhere else. The slave labor camps, if you were going to be useful to the Nazis in their mechanical structure, then you would have been put to work in the slave labor camps. And then if you would be unuseful or useful only for a short amount of time, you probably would be sent straight to the death camps. All 6 of those camps were located in Poland. Auschwitz is the largest of those death camps. There was a specific process once you arrived at the camp for how you would be selected to either go for slave labor or to be sent straight to the gas chambers. That process was very quick. It took a split second for the Nazis to decide whether or not a single person would be considered useful. The original student exhibit, which was the foundation for our museum, which was called Out of the Ashes, we still have a few pieces from that exhibit here in the museum. One is the bunk right here. This bunk is not to scale. It's about 2/3 the size of an actual bunk. It was created by the teacher of that class, David Bell, to give his students an idea of what would have been home to someone at a concentration camp. There would have been at least 3 people per tier on a bunk like this, and they would have slept widthwise. This room we kind of just call the World War II room. This is, again, is a gallery space off the regular tour, but the photographs that are on these 2 walls were all donated by Ken Rigel, who has passed away, but he was a photographer for the U.S. Army Signal Corps. These 4 frames that you see right here, he originally gave this to us as undeveloped film. So this was a film canister that he carried around for 60 years, donated it to the museum. When we developed that film, it yielded these pictures that chronicle D-Day up through the link of the U.S. and the Soviet forces in the spring of 1945. It's important for people to understand that there was resistance going on to Hitler and the Nazi regime from the very beginning. Both Jews and non-Jews were participating in resistance for various reasons, whether it was political reasons, military reasons, or just to save their lives would probably be the most important. There was resistance that was violent. There was also resistance that was nonviolent, which could take the form of practicing your religion in secret or keeping a diary that someone would read someday. Probably the most famous example of violent resistance is the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in the late winter of 1943 that took place actually in April of spring 1943, and that's probably the most famous example of resistance. There are also many stories of rescue that go from the entire country of Denmark, which rallied to save its small population of Jews, to individuals such as diplomats like Chiune Sugihara from Japan, or Raoul Wallenberg from Sweden, who risked their lives, risked their position to do what was right. In this section, we address liberation. This is the time period starting actually in 1944 and going through 1945 when the Allies were finding the concentration camps and liberating the prisoners. The Russians were liberating the camps in the east, so they first came upon Auschwitz and some of the other camps in Poland. Auschwitz was liberated on January 27th, 1945. The American forces and other Western European forces were primarily liberating camps in the West, so in Holland and France and certainly in Germany. The pictures on this wall that you see are a mix. About half are stock photographs and about half are original photographs that have been donated to our museum by liberators themselves. So we have quite a large number of veterans in our community, and several of them did participate in the liberation of camps and have donated their photographs to our museum. At the end of the war, the triumphant Allies implemented what is commonly known as the Nuremberg trials. The first trial was the International Military Tribunal, and it took place in the summer of 1945. The Allies had learned from World War I that they could not hold an entire country responsible for these crimes, and so they focused on the leadership. The International International Military Tribunal tried 22 defendants, men who were part of the German government, the German military, and high up in the business community in Germany. Following the International Military Tribunal, there were 12 trials in Nuremberg led by the United States. Those 13 trials together are called the Nuremberg trials. There were also trials held in every country in which the atrocities took place, led by those individual countries and communities. Many of the perpetrators of the Holocaust were able to escape. They went to South America. Some came to the United States under false pretenses. There is no statute of limitations on crimes against humanity, so anyone, even today, who can be connected with the crimes that took place in the death camps can still be deported to Germany and tried for those war crimes. Right here we have a small display that was part of the original student exhibit, Out of the Ashes, which addresses the story of Anne Frank. For most young people, they first become aware of the events of the Holocaust by reading the diary of Anne Frank. Anne and her family were in hiding in Amsterdam for 2 years, and during that time Anne was keeping a diary. She had heard on the radio that there was a contest for the best wartime diary, so she wrote that knowing that eventually it would be read by someone else. In April of 1944, not long before Anne and her family were taken, she wrote in her diary, "If God lets me live, I'll make my voice heard. I'll work in the world and for mankind." Here at the Holocaust Museum, we use that phrase as a challenge to our students and to our visitors to think about what they can do every day to make the world a better place. Learning about the Holocaust can be overwhelming and very depressing. We really want people to think about the opportunity that they've been given in this country to speak out on behalf of others and what they can do each day to promote respect and understanding because of what they've learned about the Holocaust. Today we're setting up for a new exhibit that will open on October 1st and run until December 1st, 2013. This exhibit is called What the Soldiers Brought Home. And the concept here is to highlight items from our own archival collection as well as items on loan from our local veterans of what they brought home, to tell the story of what these men and women experienced when they were in Europe primarily, and then the story of the particular artifact that they brought home and why they brought that back. So this exhibit is being put together today, and as I said, will run from October 1st to December 1st, 2013.
Well, welcome back to the Don Reese Show. My name's Nicholas Wolf, Mr. Teen Concierge, and we're still here. We were about to leave, but we found Cody, who's actually the collections manager for the Holocaust Museum. Say hi, Cody.
Hi there, how's it going? We're actually just in the process of setting up our new exhibit called What the Soldiers Brought Home. We're actually just starting to install the objects. We just actually got our first case pretty much set up. As you can see, we have like 3 different object sets here. Probably the highlighting piece is actually a newspaper called the Stars and Stripes, which is actually brought back by an Army nurse named Dorothy Carlson. She was actually serving with one of the many surgical and emergency hospitals that were in the war, and she actually served in a typhus ward for one of the concentration camps and was actually able to bring back a variety of objects and has made a very distinct connection with our museum because of her time helping survivors. Other objects we have in here, we actually have some authentic bullet casings and actual bullets from the German army that were picked up by soldiers on their way back from going through or coming back from Germany. The largest one has actually been identified as most likely a anti-aircraft casing for like I think it was a 39 millimeter shell, or bullet I should say, it would be more accurate. The other item we have is actually a field notebook that was generously put on loan from a Rhoda Garfinkel. It's actually her father's, a Reuben Garfinkel, who was in the 2nd Cavalry and actually did work with not only the 2nd Cavalry, but he actually worked for the Counterintelligence Corps, where he helped root out Nazi sympathizers still, and actually testified against a gentleman in the Nuremberg trials. But yeah, that's our initial case, and we're going to be continuing to put it together during this this day and the next couple of days to get ready for our opening on the 1st.
Now, is there any other interesting artifacts that haven't been put in yet but are going to be put in that you could possibly tell us a little bit about?
Oh, certainly. Let me grab actually a couple that I could bring out and give you a little story on them.
I'll give the fans a little bit of music. No, I'm just kidding. Now Cody's back with some of a couple of other artifacts that are going to be put on display. So Cody, can you please tell us a little bit about them?
Certainly. Let's start with the ring. This was actually on loan from the Military Memorabilia Museum of Naples. They were kind enough to actually loan us a very unique piece. It's a ring that was made by a soldier while he was actually stationed in Palermo, Sicily in 1944. And if possible, you can actually see he's dated it. He's actually did all what appears to be done all by hand is the carving into the ring, including the actual side accenting that's on there. And it shows sort of what soldiers were able to do during time actually not in combat, to entertain themselves and to create unique pieces to bring back to family, or to just as a memento from their time in service. All right. And then the other items we have, I have a wonderful little story to them. These are perfume bottles that are on loan from one of our volunteers. Her name's May Frank. During her husband's service, he was actually an engineer who landed in Normandy, and as they moved through France, he actually purchased these 2 bottles of perfume for his future wife. Didn't know May at the time. He was just looking for actually an item to bring back for someone knew he was going to love. And in 1951, May received these bottles. So 6 years after the end of the war, she actually received these as a gift from her husband-to-be.
Wow, those are really cool and interesting stories that are linked with these amazing objects. Hopefully we can come back when this main area is finished and we can come back and see all of the cool artifacts that are here. Obviously, again, I'm very excited because I do love history and I know a little bit about World War II, but coming back here, and of course the Museum of History and Memorabilia, obviously it was a very cool experience to learn more information. Obviously, the viewers, if you want to, you can go to the website, which was actually mentioned in the past interview, and just come here, see all this cool stuff. It's really cool, and we'll see you next time. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Don Reese Show. We are about to leave, but there's one more thing that we actually wanted to show you, and this is actually a real box cart. And these box carts were used in World War II, like in the stories that they were telling inside, to transport Jews and other people across into these concentration camps. And there was a lot of these used. This is actually one. They have a photo of another one inside the museum that's actually at another Holocaust museum. I forgot where, but if you come here, you can actually see everything for yourself. If you have anything cool, you can actually donate, and it's really cool. Hopefully we'll be able to come back later on, I think in October, to see that new area be constructed, and we'll make sure to cover that. And as always, we'll see you later.